All praises unto the Most High. We are giving thanks unto thee, Father, for thou art merciful and kind unto thy people. We give thanks, Father, for thy continual grace. We give thanks, Father, for your continual love. Israel, we're here again with part two, all right? With demonical, well, I call it demonical, but it's demonic infiltration part two, right? And we are definitely, sieving out all the closets and the curtains which all these entities are hiding behind. And it is for your own upliftment and edification of knowing the true enemy. By knowing the true enemy, then you are better equipped to, you know, enter into battle, knowing who you are truly up against. All right. Now, Israel, because this is going to be a little bit of time, I'm not going to spend too much time talking. So I'm going to get right into it. Right. So this is another interview here, which with ex FBI and ex CIA operative, right? And the CIA is name is Chip Tatum, and also he's been interviewed by Ted Gunnison, right? No, I didn't play. I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm just going to give you uh, almost to the ending of the video because there's so much information in the whole video itself. So I'm going to leave a link. I'm going to try to remember to leave a link in the description so you can actually take the time out for yourself to watch the whole video. Trust me. So I'm going to play from the ending of the video mainly. About thinking it should be around 25 minutes or so, or thereabout or less than, all right? And just to give you um, some, what I would say, meat from the bone, right? So let's get into it, Israel. No time to wait. So after we, go into this video, I'm going to actually go into something that he mentioned basically in the interview, which when I took the time out to do the research and read it for myself, I was blown away. I ain't gonna lie to you. So with no further ado, let's get into it. Israel.
What about Jupiter Island and the New World Order plans?
In the 1980s, 1990s, I was tasked under the Terrorist Incident Working Group to a unit called the Operational Subgroups. Many of our meetings in 89, 90, 91 were held in southeast Florida on Jupiter Island. In a briefing in a home of an affluent woman, and we held our briefings there. Those briefings would normally follow the G7 conferences and summits, and the reason it would normally follow that is because at that time, remember I said we were working as an international group, not necessarily just U.S. Intelligence officers. Under this international plan, they were looking toward doing a master plan for the whole world. Even as a community, as your community has a development plan to help develop the community into a better place, these people have their plans to develop the world into a better place. And I would sit in meetings and they would come to us and say, well, we have a problem in this arena. We have a very uncooperative government, say in France. We need to do something there. So it would be tasked over to the operations and plans section of the operational subgroups to come up with a plan on what to do. So we would go into our planning phase. We'd look into say France and decide, well, the president in France just isn't cooperating here. He's kind of a loose cannon. What can we do? Well, let's do a little counterintelligence work, incite some riots or something like that. And And that's what we did to help neutralize these countries and these leaders. Sometimes we go into a country and wipe out that leader's bank account and let him know,
But you had the power to do that.
Sure we had.
Well, didn't you have a situation in Central or South America where the leader of the country was not cooperating and he thumbed his nose basically at the CIA, U.S. government, and you said, well, within 2 weeks, your brother or one of your relatives would be eliminated? Is that true?
Daniel Ortega, the president of Nicaragua. We didn't have to pose that whole war down there to get him to have elections. All we needed to do was neutralize him. And we knew that all along. We went in, we told Ortega, you're going to hold free elections and you need to announce that. He said, well, I'm not going to do it. So our emissary came back and told us he's not going to do it. We sent him back down. Once it was given to the subgroups, we sent him down and told him to tell Raphael, or tell him that Raphael's going to die in 2 weeks.
Raphael was who?
His second cousin.
Okay.
Good friend of his, one of his best friends. And so he put thousands, he put him in a compound, was protected by a large contingency of troops. But on the day that we told him he would die, he died.
Do you want to say how he died?
Rocket fire.
In a car?
Well, no, in the compound. It was rocket fire, but we also had people on the ground there, too. So whether it was rocket fire or whether it was a bullet to the head,
Well, now, Jupiter...
There wasn't enough left to tell.
Unfortunately. Now, Jupiter Island, who were...
Let me qualify.
Okay.
Within 2 weeks, Ortega announced that there would be free elections in that country because he was next.
Right, and you told him that.
We told him.
How about going back to Jupiter Island? Who attended these meetings in Jupiter Island?
Had quite a few big names in those, and I'll talk about a couple of those, but I won't go beyond that because I like talking. I like breathing. I like eating. No matter how good my insurance is, I know that there's some people you never talk about.
See, Israel, as you can see right here, right? This is deep, right? This is the CIA right now. He's telling you that, they can infiltrate other nations. They can basically bully you to coerce you to basically do what they want, right? And this is something that we truly have to take into consideration. Now let's continue.
Right. So I won't. George Bush was one who would normally attend those meetings, if not personally, at least through teleconferencing. An additional member that was always there was the man who still commanded me in these operations and who actually recruited me into black operations. His name was Bill Colby.
Who's now dead.
Who's now dead.
Mysterious death.
When I walked away, I was told you don't just walk away, and I believe he walked away too, and that's why.
Right, mysterious death.
Another person who was there who oversaw all of our finances now runs the Judicial Oversight Committee in the United States Congress, Henry Hyde.
Henry Hyde.
Uncle Henry.
Henry Hyde, U.S. Congressman from Illinois.
That's the man. So you think you're going to get judicial parity? I don't think so.
That reminds me, Chip. I have some other names I could run by you, but I won't put you on the spot, okay?
I appreciate that, Ted.
Let's see. He's a man. I'm not going to call him. I met him in the White House myself on one occasion. Not General Haig, but somebody else. Let's see. That was 1973 for me. I had another thought that I wanted to bring up, and I'll remember it down the road.
Well, you had asked me earlier what I'm doing these days, and let me tell you what I'm doing. Being a spook by trade, you can't just walk away. You can't just give it up. And you asked me what I'm doing on your radio show. What are your plans? And right now, I'm working as the two-county coordinator for the American Red Cross. And the reason I'm working as a two-county coordinator in Florida for the American Red Cross is it gives me the opportunity to interface directly with probably one of the darkest organizations the United States has ever seen, and that's FEMA.
Oh, we know about FEMA.
So I've been able to effectively infiltrate FEMA.
Now, Israel, now check this. This is deep, right? Now, this is what I wanted to get to. He's stating here that one of the darkest organization, which is, in their country, is FEMA, right? And I mean, he's going to elaborate more on it, and he's going to basically tell you about, information that he got about FEMA, right? And I'm telling you, Israel, when I actually went and got this information for myself, I was blown away. You know what I mean? Even though I had videos previously about FEMA of ex people, being in FEMA and whistleblowers, this was still really eye opening, because I mean, this interview was like, years ago, right? Before even anything start happening, which is taking place right now, right? So let's continue.
I'm the person who deals directly with them in all issues and sit in meetings with them. And little did they know that they had a spook in their midst.
They know it now.
Yeah, they know it now. I told them last week in my last meeting with them.
Well, then you have some pretty good information, I think, don't you?
I waited till I got what I needed, and then I put it on the website. I did a big article on the website, exposed what they have going, how they effectively hope to take over. You know, the big thing with FEMA is if the United States ever goes in to martial law, which can be put in place any time now because of Clinton's recent filings under the National Security
Executive orders.
Right. Since he's declared a national state of emergency already, all he has to do is have a nuclear, biological, or chemical threat active, and he can declare martial law.
All right. Now listen, Israel, you just said it, either biological, chemical, so chemical or biological could be but biological, I should say, is like, it could be like a outbreak of some form of disease, right? And they could call martial law. Now, I mean, I don't have to say anything, but you think about it, what's going on right now, right? So at any time right now, there can be something like this taking place, not just even in the States, I mean, all around the world, which some countries still are in some form of lockdown right now, right? I'm just saying, right? So let's continue.
That's going to be pretty easy if he pushes Saddam into blowing up a biological, or if he shows the United States that there are people here, factions here, trying to do that, like they just tried to do with Harris. He can then effectively declare martial law. If he does that, though, the people who really take over the country and run things is FEMA. So you have to make sure, and I don't know that James E. Witt, the current head of FEMA, is one who goes along with this plan. He just, in sitting in our briefings and everything, he's just not one that's going to do it. So,
well, didn't they replace him, or aren't they replacing him?
So quietly, last fall, they opened some offices in Washington at FEMA headquarters and brought their Region 6 administrator, a man named Raymond Buddy Young.
Oh, we mentioned him earlier, right? Security officer.
Security chief.
That's right.
Is taking over FEMA.
Well, we'll see what happens in the future. Of course, we know FEMA is Federal Emergency Management Agency, and they have they take precedent over all law enforcement, federal and local,
and
in the event of
and
military in the event of a national emergency.
That's
What a very clever plan devised by, that was originally set up by Bush, wasn't it?
Yeah, it actually came from years ago. And if folks would ever want to go to the website and read that article, it's available there. It's called FEMA, the Dark Underbelly.
Okay, and it's called FEMA, the Dark Underbelly, right, Israel? I really wanted to go more into this video because there's so much more that he goes into, which is, I mean, mind-boggling, right? But I'm just going to quickly show you before we continue. Let me just actually just give you a quick look, all right? Now, this is what he's speaking about, and it's called FEMA, because I got it as well, FEMA, right here, right? FEMA, the underbelly. Now, Israel, we're going to go through it a little, but it's so extent, like so much information, as you can see. Look, right, that it would take us, a while to go through all of it, just to show you, right? It continues. So I'm just going to go back up, right? So these are the things which are demonical infiltration to as he spoke about earlier, Jupiter Island, which where they sat down and they basically, you know, talked about trying to implement the New World Order, right? So let me quickly go back to the video because I still want a little bit more to this video before I start going into this, right? And I will be going into the scriptures as well relating to what is taking place right now, right, Israel? So let's do it.
What's your website?
It's if they'll go to www.2.net and then just click on the Black Ops at the bottom of the page, they'll go right to the website.
What about prison camps? You had information about prison camps.
When we would fly cross country in Black Ops, in Special Ops, we would normally RO in at different areas. Nellis Air Force Base was one. A lot of military bases where they have large encampment areas that are built. We would RO in. We'd stay in those encampment areas. High security encampment areas. No cargo inside. And they aren't built for cargo. They aren't built to store things. They're built for people. What they intend on doing with that, I don't know, but they're in place.
How many prison camps would you say?
I know of 5 or 6 that I saw. I also know that the United States Bureau of Prisons is in the process of acquiring land across the U.S. In Coleman, Florida. They just acquired 1,200 acres for a prison, and they don't need near that for a prison. That's a big area.
Well, they already have a prison, federal prison in Coleman, Florida.
Yeah, that's correct.
There's a political prisoner there named Michael Reconasutu, who I'm in contact with regularly.
Right.
Ex-agency also, by the way. Well, in Texas, there are 8 prisons that have been built in recent years. They are staffed, but there's no inmates there. Is that the case in the prison camps that you were in?
Yeah, they were staffed with security, just skeleton crew security.
But no inmates?
No inmates, no.
Watch out. Be careful. It's right around the corner, it looks like.
And I don't prefer the word inmates. I prefer the name prisoners or convicts. If you're convicted, you're a convict. If you're not convicted, you're a prisoner.
Is there anything else you want to mention about FEMA?
No, I think that's about it. It's probably one of the darkest agencies that we have. Really, its power is, they have unbridled power to do anything. It takes Congress right out of the act. All Clinton has to do, or all the president, whoever it may be, has to do is from time to time report to Congress. That means he can send a 3x5 card to them and say, hey guys, things are fine and dandy. Come on back to work someday, but not today.
What about Rothschild, Rockefeller? Do you have any connections there? The CIA and some of the cool...
Not the CIA.
Rockefeller, let me see, I keep forgetting about the mic. How about Rockefeller, Rothschilds, and that bunch? Do you have anything that would tie them into the CIA operation, covert operation?
Not CIA, but in Black Ops and when we talk about the G7 meetings and setting things in place, the powerful families always have input to the politicians that they've placed in power.
Israel, do you hear that? These families are powerful, and they have power to who they place in politics, right? So it clears to show you that it's not politicians running the country, or which I've been saying for decades, right? It's people with mass amount of wealth and which are locked into demonic, deep, dark demonic presence, right? I would love to continue this because it's so much more information here, which would, makes your head spin. But let's quickly get into what he just spoke about with FEMA, right? The dark underbelly, right? I'm hoping that you're seeing this. I'll try to blow it up as much as possible so you could actually see the wording, right? Okay. And let me, let's even start right, say, all right, let's just start here, all right? Let me start at, let's just highlight, let's highlight right here, right? And it reads, hold on one second, Israel. Let me Let me switch my mic. Right. As we said, no, Israel. Right. So let's get into Israel. Look, read it. Look, read it. Let's read it. Now, listen, it says here, FEMA, right? Now, actually, you're saying to yourself, what is the meaning of FEMA? It is Federal Emergency Management Agency. That's the meaning of FEMA. Now, as Chip just said earlier, this is an organization which has more power than even the army. Could you believe that? They have more, they have jurisdiction over the army. I mean, that's crazy. I never knew that, you know, there could be an agency that has more power than the army, right? But let's continue, right? All right. So it reads right here. Some people have referred to it as the secret government of the United States. It is not elected body. It does not involve itself public disclosures, and it even has what we say, a quasi-secret budget in the hundreds of billions of dollars, right? That's no joke, right? If you have an organization that doesn't even need to detail, just like if probably the FBI has to put out certain things on their website for public domain, so people can, if they want, they can go and get it. Same like the CIA. I mean, Chip talked about that actually, even as the video was going on. Well, if I continued, you would have heard, right? And there's so many more, right? Now, why I'm pointing this out, because obviously I'm not an American citizen, right? But I can state that, you know, we all know this. This is nothing new. America has so much power. You could basically state that we are American citizens because there are certain categories and things that it's governed almost under the world. It's like a world government. It's just that it's not stapled, you know, directly as that, but really and truly, as he stated, the CIA can tell you, say, listen, we want this to happen. And if the politician don't go along with it, they can be thrown out, right? And I'm going to give an example. For me now living in the Caribbean, right? Check this. I remember when we had a prime minister, right, in power. His name was, what's his name again? Bruce Golding, right? Now, Bruce was, I want to seem like he wasn't taking any talk, because I remember when he went to the Europe and they had some form of conference and they asked him a question about homosexuals. And he said, well, that's not something that's going to be in my constituency or his cabinet, something like that. And that's when, all demonical powers say, so, because he was the prime minister at the time. I mean, you have to watch these things and be very keen. Things starting to arise that he was linked with certain youngsters and this and that, and then inquiries came in, and he and they spent millions of dollars to question this man over things which really and truly we all knew, right? It's just that I don't think a thief would tell you that he's a thief, right? Not saying he's a thief, but I'm just using it as an example, right? So, from what I was seeing, they basically got him out and put in who they wanted because, there are certain things that you don't know that Bruce wasn't with and, with outside influence or telling him, so listen, da 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 da. But obviously that wasn't the case. Now, to give you another example, when even Obama came here, right? This is documented. This is not nothing I'm making up, right? When he went to the University of the West Indies, right? He was speaking about basically telling you about, opening up for, homosexuality. Now, what that has to do with Jamaica? I mean, how is that going to would have helped any part of the Caribbean country, right? What they actually did as well, they gave them money, grants, which we don't know where that money went to, as usual, right? So we have all these disparities, you understand? And not only that, we are not asking questions, you know, we're just laying back and watching everything, you know, happens the way that it happens. Now, don't get me wrong, this is prophecy and it will be fulfilled. But still, are we just, being passive? Are we just not asking questions? Are we not seeing? Are we just being like the blind that's following the blind? You know, so these things we should really, really ask, because even after Obama came out here and did all of that, within 2 weeks after that, I mean, I remember artists came out and said that, you know, this is just all a sham and, blah, blah, blah. And they attacked the artist, right? And then funny enough, 2 weeks after that, he passed a bill where they legalized same-sex marriage. No, you couldn't make this thing up, right? This is documented. This is not conspiracy. This is not nothing that's coming from me personally. This is things is there. You can go and check it. There's nothing being hid anymore. They're basically not hiding anything anymore, right? So it goes to show you that the scripture itself is coming alive. It is there to show you that I want to see who can refute the Bible. Because right now it's playing out like, man, it's like a movie. But let's go into it again, Israel, right? Now, this government organized has more power than the president of the United States or Congress. You know what type of power is that, Israel? Watch this again. More power than the people. Let's highlight that, right? Now, that should scare you alone, you know? That in itself is scary, that this government organization has more power than the president, than Congress, than the people. Now, forget about the president and Congress, because those are puppets, but I'm talking about the people, because the people is the majority. And this government agency is of a minority, yet they have more power than the people, right? Let's continue. It has more power, suspends laws, move entire politicians, arrest and detain citizens without warrant or hold them without trial. That's crazy. It can seize property, food supplies, transportation systems, and can suspend the constitutions. Now that is deep, right? I hope you guys are really listening to this, because this needs to soak in. Because I'm not going to even go to all of this, because this will make your head spin. All right. I'm just gonna leave a link, as I said, and if you want to go through it and read it for yourself, which I suggest you should, or if not, just look up FEMA, the dark underbelly. You'll find it. All right. Check this again now. Right. Let's continue. Not only is it the most powerful entity in the United States, but was not even created under the constitutional laws. Wow. By the Congress. It was a product of presidential um, executive orders, right? It is not the US military nor the Central Intelligence Agency. These organizations are subject to the control of Congress, right? Now let's continue down here, all right? Um, right. The organization is called FEMA, which stands for, as I said earlier, Federal Emergency Management Agency, originally conceived in the Richard Nixon, you know, I don't even need to tell you about that administration. If you don't do your own research, it was refined by Jim, who? Carter, or even we need to tell you about that, and giving teeth in the Ronald Reagan and George Bush administration. Man, I don't even need to tell you about them today, right? All of these people are infiltrated demonically, right? And you're going to say to yourself, how is that possible? You know, but you see, because we don't understand the scriptures and realize there's a thing called spiritual imposition in terms of infiltration to your being. And some of these people are already having organized secret organizations, which you know the world public won't know about, which they do their own. As I said, and if you watch the first part of um, this video, well, not this video, but the previous video I did before, right? Ted Gunnison goes into telling you that there is satanic, right, groups lodged in their organizations, right? Human sacrificing from babies to adults. I mean, I could go on and on, right? And these are cases that he worked on. This is not me making up anything. This is what I'm trying to show you. And they actually did not listen. And now we're looking and we're seeing, and if we're really paying attention, right, we will see all these things coming to light. But who have eyes to see, just as what Christ said, let him see. And who have ears to hear, let him hear, right? So let's continue, Israel, because I'm even going to go all through this because it's very extensive, right? And it will make your head spin the type of power that this organization has, right? I even have a previous video on this, right? So you can go and check that out too as well. All right. FEMA has one original concept when it was created to ensure stability of the United States government in even of a nuclear attack on its nation. It was also provided with the task of being a federal organization body during the time of domestic disasters, such as earthquakes, floods, hurricanes. Um, it assumes power. Hold on, let me turn this up. Right. It assumes power under the tutelage of the people, like I think it's Lieutenant Oliver North and General Richard Sukcord, right? The architects of the Iran contract scandal and the looting of America's saving and loans institution. FEMA has even been given control over the State Defense Force, uh, uh, a ragtag, often considered neo-Nazi type of organization. That is neo-Nazi, right? Civilians army that will substitute for the National Guard. You know what I mean? The National Guard. If the guard is called to duty overseas, right? So let's go down again, Israel. I'm just going to go through a little, you know what I mean? Because just going to give you this insight. Now watch this now. The most powerful organization in the United States, right? Through it may be the most powerful organization in the United States. Few people knew it even exists, which is true. A lot of people don't know about it. Well, now it's more prevalent now than before, but still there's a lot of people that don't know about FEMA, right? Has crept into our private lives. Even merged papers contain FEMA names in small prints. In the property in question is near a flood plan. FEMA was deeply involved in the Los Angeles riots and the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake in San Francisco Bay Area, right? So let's jump. I'm going to skip some of this and let's go to some of the executive orders. All right. So I'm going to show you. All right. Executive order 12148, created by federal FEMA. Right. Let's just say FEMA because it's about to mention all of that. All right. Interface with the Department of Defense, Civil Defense Planning and Funding. All right, let's skip that. Let's go down a little bit. All right, here we are. So Executive Order number 12656 appointed the National Security Council as the principal body that should consider emergency powers. This allows the government to increase domestic intelligence and surveillance of US citizens, right? And would restrict freedom of movement within the United States, grant that the government the right to isolate large groups of citizens. The National Guard could be federalized and to seal all borders that take control of U.S. airspace, all ports and entries. All right, so let's go to one more. Let's go to another executive order. Let's go to it. So this is going to tell you know what some of these orders can, give you, right? So let's do it. Executive Order 10990, right? Allows security to transport to take over all modes of transport and control of highways and seaports. It also gives the um, security of conference to full control the products of distribution of all construction materials like gas, oil, and the power as well as all civilian private aviation facilities, highways, and the seaports. That's crazy, right? That's a lot of power. Let's read even two more before I go into the scriptures. Now check this. Um, Executive Order 10995 allows the government to size and control the communication media. It established the techno communication management agency that provides for the takeover of all communication media in the United States. That's not a joke. This includes broadcast, cable televisions, all radios, stations, all satellite earth stations, and satellites, all telephone companies, telephone systems in the United States, right? Steve, this is not even a joke, right? Executive Order 10998 allows the Secretary of Agriculture to take over all food resources, farms, and farm equipments. This means that all private owners of farmland and food resources will not be commandeered by the federal government, together with all farm implements and equipments used to work this land. All will become property of the federal government. Now, Israel, I could continue. There's so much, you know, but I'm just stopping right there just to show you if they control the food. So who knows, which the Bible speaks about famine. They can create that in terms of who they want to give and what they don't want to give or whatever it may be. Even in Texas the other day when it was freezing, certain parts of Texas had light and the rest of them were like, you're on your own, right? So how is it that you have enough to give to a certain part, but the rest, So it was crazy. Obviously it was out for everybody for a little while, but still they could still manage to give some and the rest just had to ride it out. Right? It's crazy. So it shows you that alone in itself should show you that we need to turn back to the Most High. And this is just a tip of the iceberg right here, Israel. I mean, this is probably what they want us to know. I mean, you know, who knows what else is lying behind that curtain, which I know, which is demonical infiltration. And this is what I'm tagging right here. All right. So let's quickly go to the scriptures, right? All right. Let's do it. All right. So here we are. We're at Psalms 18 and verse 8 and 9 to 10, right? From verse 8 to 10, right? And I'm going to go through a bit more scriptures just to give you the overlay of, you know, what we're dealing with. So it says right here, Israel, see here, it is better to trust in the Most High than to put your confidence in man. I mean, I just said it. That in itself is self-explanatory. We need nothing else to guess or wonder or even think about. Look what is taking place right now there. I need to say no more. All you need to do is just, you know, you have a smartphone, bam, you know, Bob's your uncle. You see everything, right? Let's continue. It is better to trust in the Most High than to put your confidence in princes. Now, princes mean like your presidents, your governor, your prime ministers, your MPs, you name it. If you put your confidence in these people, you're really being led by people which are blind and blind to the light, which people which are in the dark do not like the light. Now, watch this. All nations compass me about, but in the name of the Most High will I destroy them. It says it again. They compass me about, yea, they compass me about, but in the name of the Most High will I destroy them, right? Let's get into it now, Israel. I'm going to jump into Psalms 138, right? Because we're doing it today, Israel. We're doing it. We're breaking down these negative energy, right? We're breaking it down. We're not in the foolishness anymore. And then, I mean, who have ears to hear, let them hear, right? So let's go to it, 138, and we're going to 6 and 8, right? So let's do it, Israel, because these are the things we're talking about. Now read, now watch this. Though the Most High be high, yet had he respect unto the lowly, but the proud he knew afar off. I mean, we know who are the proud, right? Through I walk in the midst of trouble, thou wilt revere me, thou shalt stretch forth thine hand against the wrath of mine enemies, and thy right hand shall save me. The Most High will perfect that which concerneth me. Thy mercy, O Elohim, endureth forever. Forsake not the works of thine own hands. Israel, the Most High is just watching. He is just taking notes because really and truly, when this utter collapse drop, it ain't gonna be no joke thing. So let's do it. Psalms 137, right? We're doing it, Israel. We'll get into it, right? It's not even a joke, right? No. Let's read it. All right. No. Children of Israel, no, this is deep. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy, remember, O Elohim, the children of who? Edom, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it even to the foundation thereof. Let's continue. O daughter of Babylon, how art to be destroyed. Happy he be. Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast rewarded us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little one against the sun. Israel, we're getting into it. We're not playing around, all right? We are unearthing what I call the people behind the curtain, all right? So let's do it. Psalms 149, right? Psalms 149, right? Verse 7 and 9, right? We're getting into it, Israel, because these things that we have to see, how long will it take for us not to see these things? Now, let's read. To execute vengeance upon the Eden and punish upon the people. Punishment, upon the people. To bind their kings with change. With what? Chains. Let us highlight this right here, Israel. Let's do it. Let's do it. Because I want to really get into this one, right? To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with flitters of iron, to execute upon them judgment written. Let's read it again. To execute upon them judgment written. As I said, the Father is taking notes. I just told you. This honor have all this, this honor have all his saints. Praise he the Most High. Israel, it's not a joke. Now, I'm going to go quickly into Matthew 13, right? And I'm going to read from around 37. So let's go to Matthew real quick, right? So we're going into the New Testament. So that no one think it's only the Old Testament. So let's go to the New Testament because that sometimes is the case that people say that it's only the Old Testament, whatever, right? So Matthew 13, right? And 37. Right? All right. Now it's in red writing, so clearly you know that it's Christ speaking here, and he's telling you, right? Now, when you listen keenly to this, Israel, and you should take time to read this whole chapter, right? And he answered and said unto them, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man, which is Christ. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. Let's stick right there, Israel, for a minute. The tares are the children of the wicked one, right? And these wicked ones are the ones that are sowing all type of mischief in the earth right now. Let's continue. The enemy that soweth them is the devil. Let's repeat that. The enemy that soweth them is the devil. So it states right there now, Israel, firmly that the enemy that soweth these things are the devil. So it comes right back to what I was saying. Demonical, what? Infiltration. So the devil sow his seeds into these wicked ones, the children of the devil. Continue. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all the things that offend, and them which do iniquity. So may I say Israel? No, there will be a time where all these wicked people will be gathered up, right? Who offend, who do iniquity. Let's see what will happen. And shall be cast them into the furnace of the fire. Let's read it again, Israel. And shall cast them into the furnace of the fire, right? There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth, right? They think it's a game. It's not a game. The Most High is not playing around. So for who think that this is a game and having a jolly good time, well, that's your choice. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto the treasure hid in a field, the which when a man had found, he hid it, and for joy, therefore, goeth and selleth all that he had, and buyeth that field. Right? Let's continue again, Israel. Let's read it. We're getting into it, Israel. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man seeking goodly pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto the net that was cast into the sea and gathered every kind, right? We're getting into it, Israel. Stay with me. Which, when it was full, they drew to sort and set down and gather the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. So shall it be at the end of this world, of the world. The angel shall come forth and serve the wicked from among the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of the fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. I wonder if you hear me, Israel, right? Now Christ said unto them, he understood all these things that said unto him, yea. He's talking to the disciples right here. And he said, yea, right? So Israel, it is simple. We have a judgment to come. And it's not to scare, but to prepare. I wonder if did you hear? It is not to scare, but to prepare. And a lot of people might say, we've been hearing this from Wapi Kill Philip. Okay, cool. But isn't it something that you should say to yourself, what is taking place now? I've never seen it, not even my grandparents, right? And there's more to come, more tribulation. It's just warming up. Because the Most High said he's going to put this judgment little by little. Not something he's going to bam and one knock. No. Even in the time of Exodus in Egypt, it's the same thing. You know, it didn't just happen one time. You know, the Most High it was a continual process until it reached to a point where Pharaoh himself could not, you know, could not take the judgment of the Most High. He had to give in. You know, which man can stand the judgment of the Most High? I really would like to know that man, right? So, if I were you, Israel, you know, I would seriously start humbling yourselves, taking your own personal emotions and feelings out of it, and start to give honor and praises to the Elohim of Israel, the one and only true Elohim. There is no other. The Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And giving double honors unto our Savior Christ, who laid down his life for his people. A selfless act, right? How much of us right now are being selfless? You probably can't even count it on one hand, right? Probably a few, you know. But the fact still remains. We need to be embraced into Christ. He is the chief cornerstone. You can't run away from it, Israel. You can run for so long, but how long? You know, and this is showing you that they are infiltration of what demonical entity. So before I go, let me quickly even show you. So I'm going to go to Ephesians, right? I'm going to go back to the New Testament again, so you can see, right? Verse 6 and 12, right? Let's do it real quick, right? Now watch this. Before I even read that, let me even go up here, and I'm not even gonna go to 12. Let me read even 11. Put the whole armor of Elohim, that he may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. It's not a joke. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. There it is, Israel. I have to say no more, right? Demonical infiltration. I'm going to give you an example. Just like if you turn on the news and you hear a lot of crime, and these crimes are, of like one of the most outlandish. That's not somebody in their right state of mind. That is a demonical infiltration within you to push you to do something that you would never normally do, like somebody to go and, per se, cut off somebody's head, or to go into the church and to shoot somebody in front of, you know, the whole congregation. That is not, regardless of circumstances, that is not what the Most High people would do. That is demonical infiltration. Because what is the reward of sin? Death. It's simple. So if you want a true reward that is 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 there for you, that you're heirs to the Most High's kingdom, right? If you are a child of the Most High. So what will happen? You must do the things which are of the Most High, which is love, meekness, temperance, charity, and so forth and so on. Those are the fruits and the spirit of the righteous. But of the wicked or sinners is lasciviousness, there is wrath, there is heresy, there is murder, there is hatred, and so more, so on, so forth. So, Israel, I think I've already made the point. So, with that, I'm going to say, have a blessed day, and I'll say to you, get on the right hand of the Most High. So, until I see you again, have a blessed day. Let the Most High bless you, and, you know, open your hearts to the word of the light. All praises unto the Most High. We give thanks unto thee, Father, for thou art merciful and kind unto thy people. Double honors unto our King and our Savior, Christ, who laid down his life for his people. Honors unto the Holy Spirit, which is the wisdom that lives within the seed of Jacob. Shalom.